All over our cities, along our coastlines and across our green and pleasant land, an invisible army is fighting a never-ending war. Their enemy is the filth that we create and the vermin that thrive on it. Welcome to the hidden world of the Grimefighters. On Grimefighters tonight, Suicide Sid talks to the animals.
There's a rat, there's a dirty rat.
Council worker Jason takes on the wrath of some seagulls.
You can sort of get members of the public which get attacked.
And litter picker Lou hasn't got talent.
I'm a litter picker and I don't care.
But first, in Leicester, council housing manager Steve arrives for work.
We've just been given the keys for this three-bedroom house and let's go and have a look inside, see what we can find.
As usual, it's horrible. It's Steve's job to clear up and refurbish council properties after the tenants have moved out, or in this case, have been evicted. He should now be used to this scene, but it still gets to him.
When you walk into a property and it's left like this, it annoys you really. Obviously when they moved in, it was all clean, tidy and cleared out, and then they just leave this mess for us to clear up. It has a knock-on effect to the new tenants that are going to be moving in because they have to wait longer. They will get a bill for it though.
Damage on this scale will cost thousands of pounds to put right. Leicester Council will use all its powers to track down the tenants to make them pay, taking them to court if necessary. But it's the human cost that really annoys Steve.
This is a house, so there's going to be a family waiting to move in, so they'll probably be overcrowded in a flat, maybe homeless. They're in a bad situation where they are desperately needed this property, but because of how it's been left, there's a massive hold-up for them.
As well as the rubbish and vandalism, Steve has been warned by Pest Control that the house has been infested with rats and fleas. Steve has no option but to call in Suicide Sid and his A-team to clear the house. Suicide, who cares nothing for his own safety, has his special way of clearing a property. Within a few minutes, Suicide arrives with the yellow beast. It's going to be an entertaining day.
There's a rat, there's a dirty rat.
In Wolverhampton, the city's proudest litter picker, Lou, is embarking on another shift. Unfortunately for the residents, he's in fine voice.
I'm a litter picker and I don't care. As I'm mousing along like I have a whistle to myself. I can't whistle, I can't sing, but you like to make a bit of row as you go along, just to let people know you're out and about and trying to get their streets nice and clean.
With the sun shining over the suburb of Dunstall and only a smattering of litter to attend to, Lou's allowing himself to feel positive about the future.
I think I'll last till I'm about 93 or older. Just keep plodding on. As long as they keep wanting to pay me, I'll keep coming.
But just round the corner by the local school, things take a turn for the worse.
I've walked up the road thinking, well, it's not too bad at all. Come past this tree and look what greets you. This is unbelievable, this is unbelievable. Bottles, cans, lino, chip boxes. Look, a bag full of bricks. Now, why would anybody come here and bring a bag full of bricks? Hey, they must have got an hernia carrying that here. What a disgrace. There's a bin there and they've not even put anything in the bin.
It's looking like Lou's day is about to fall apart, and the state of the bin doesn't help.
And what they've done, they put a green bag in here and the kids have come along and set fire to it.
But amazingly, Lou seems to be regaining some of his composure.
And by the time we leave here, it'll be spick and span, you'll be able to do a bit of camping on here.
In Leicester, Suicide Sid and his partner Ian are preparing to clear the house, togging up to face the worst.
Well, I've been told there's rats in there, fleas, and it's in a bit of a state really.
The white suits may protect against the fleas, but they're not exactly air-conditioned.
These suits don't help. Too hot. You've got to work in them. You can't breathe in them, can you? Makes you sweat all day.
With a quick spray of flea repellent, the boys can now venture inside.
Once you open the door, you can actually smell what's been living in here. And apparently, like, the kids have been living in this. It smells like a dirty nappy or some old nappies. That's what it really smells like.
Even with the windows open, it's going to be hot work for Ian and Sid. While Ian takes care of the kitchen, Sid works his way down from the top. In the bedroom, it's quickly apparent what else has been keeping the family company.
See where the mice have been living? That's what they do, look. They've been living under the wardrobe, shred it, made themselves a nice bed. So let your kids live like this, it's really unbelievable, really.
Back down in the kitchen, the extent of the infestation is obvious.
Most of this now is all mouse droppings. Imagine the kids have been coming in here, getting a packet of crisps or whatever, getting the food, the mum's cooking in here, and that's what they're eating most probably.
The work surfaces are horrible, and Sid's made an even more unpleasant discovery below.
That's a big rat, look. You can see where it's been eaten. Look, see the maggots coming out now, look. They're still alive, look. Oh, it's just rinks that does, man. All right, if you look underneath here, all the maggots, the floor's riddled with them. You look, when you actually look, you catch them all running out through the side of your eyes, and it looks like the actual ground's moving. But it ain't, it's just the maggots are all, basically just everywhere, really. You see this here, look, moving, look. Like, imagine you walk straight in here, and you see that start moving, you're going to get a little bit of a fright, ain't you?
This may seem scary, but Sid's seen much worse.
I mean, I've seen where a dead body's been moved out from a settee, and I've gone to grab the settee and like bigger maggots than that, where obviously it ate the bloke away, half of his head apparently. And I moved the cushion, and there was most will be 3 times as much as what I've seen on the floor there. But it's the smell. It does make you swallow a bit, you know what I mean? You do smell death. It's got that certain smell. And when I walked in, I knew something was dead in here.
Having had their progress delayed, the boys will have their work cut out to clear this house today. There's no peace for the wicked. For the nation's pest controllers, for most of the time, it's a land battle against cockroaches, rats and creepy crawlies. But in Cardiff, pest controllers Jason and Kevin are having to face a challenge from the air. From the rooftops, they have to launch a cunning campaign. They don't have any sentimental feelings for their enemy. They're out to trick seagulls.
We're just checking, surveying the area to see how many nests are up here, and if we find any eggs, we're going to replace them with some plastic replacement ones.
Cardiff is second only to Aberdeen in its population of seagulls, with nearly 3,000 pairs nesting around the city. Replacing the gulls' eggs has proved to be the best deterrent against the burgeoning population. It's not just the mess the gulls leave behind, it's the seagulls' antisocial behaviour which really causes trouble.
They do attack people. I say when the actual sort of young hatch, the seagulls get very defensive of the young and they start to swoop down, and you can sort of get members of the public which get attacked. So I say by doing this, it does actually sort of prevent the actual sort of seagulls from actually taking on the aggressive tendencies later on in the year.
It doesn't take Jason long to find the first nest.
Right, we found a nest here now which actually has 1 egg in. So what we're going to do now, we're going to replace it with a plastic replica egg. Very similar in size and shape. And we put it down, and then basically when the seagull comes back, it actually doesn't actually understand that actually the actual egg has been taken, and it will just sit on it now for the rest of the summer, and it won't figure this out until actually the nesting season is actually finished then.
Jason blames our throwaway society for the huge escalation in seagull numbers.
We live in a society now which is a fast food society, so there's a ready food source for them. Centre of town these days, you know, being fast food, refuse and litter is easy pickings for them. Chicken bones, things like that, which you often find actually in the nests themselves. So it does tell you that they are scavengers, and they will find food from many different places.
The egg replacement programme is a long-term approach to controlling the seagull population, and the most humane. After 3 years in operation, it's proving to be highly successful.
The actual system we put in place with this egg replacement has worked very well. Mostly it came about because members of the public were being attacked, and by actually replacing the eggs on virtually all of them, the success rate has been quite high and the complaints have dropped dramatically.
As each pair of gulls raises 3 chicks a season on average, Jason and Kevin will pay regular visits to continually replace the newly laid eggs. But despite the cunning plan, It's estimated that in 10 years, Cardiff's gull population will grow to over 5,000 nesting pairs. It will replace Aberdeen as the UK's seagull capital. Coming up, Sid and Ian feel the heat, Lou and the boys sort out the fly tip, Enforcement Officer John cracks down on smokers, and we're out on the night shift, hanging around Westminster Tube Station. Throughout the country, an army of professionals are continuing to dedicate their daily lives to waging war on the nation's grime. In Leicester, suicide Sid and partner Ian are taking a breather after discovering the unwelcome guest in the 4-bed house. Sid only gets paid on the amount he clears in a day, so it takes a lot for him to halt proceedings.
You start to swallow and you can feel yourself, you want to heave after a time, you know, because of the smell.
Revived, Sid and Ian can continue doing what they do best. But they do sometimes reflect.
I have a bad day every day. That's why I destroy everything. Collapse them all. It's the best way to get a wardrobe down. It took someone hours to pick this up. It takes me about 2 seconds to do it.
For Sid, things aren't as bad as they are for partner Ian. Today is his first day back doing house clearances after 30 years in a desk job at the council.
It's not nice for him, is it, really? I can imagine people didn't live like this 30 years ago. But I mean, if I come on my first job and you're coming into this, you think, oh God, what have I let myself in for? And it must be the hardest day's work he's done in 30 years, I'd say, you know what I mean?
Without said I would be lost today doing this on my own anyway. I'll be here all day, won't I? And tomorrow. I must admit, it's a bit of a shock to my system really, to see a pattern like this.
Whether it's Ian's lack of experience or the heat, Sid's feeling the strain.
What am I going to be like in like 5-10 years' time? Yeah, I mean, I'm 47 now, I mean, I don't want to be going up in the attics when I'm 55, 60. So I could do with like a 20-year-old, you know what I mean? Let him do all the hard work.
With the bedrooms cleared, all that's left is the attic.
A couple of old tellies, suitcases, half a wardrobe.
It's the perfect excuse for Sid to show his feelings. In Wolverhampton, litter picker Lou is mustering his forces to tackle the unsightly fly tip near the local school.
Hey, this is young Gary getting at the cab now. He'll still and do this job. He's the babby of the section. He's YTS, are you? Just finished. Oh, they've took him on full time now, apparently. They've started to pay him. He's absolutely loaded. What do you do with all your money all the while?
Spend it on the house.
He like, spend it on the house and a few cans. That's what he likes.
With everyone present and correct, time to hatch a plan.
My plan of attack at the present moment is I'm just going to pass these few bricks across to Gary and Sam and chuck them in the motor. See how young Gary is, always likes to take more than anybody else.
Like Sid in Leicester, Lou's also feeling his age. But there's life in the old dog yet.
I've come here, I've seen this mess today. I've jumped over this fence, I'm 62. I've still got a bit of a jump in me. People don't seem to realise. They think I'm old and knackered, but I ain't. In about another 10 minutes time, 15 minutes time, it'll be nice and clean. Come 2 weeks time, it'll be as bad again, but why worry?
And there's even time for Lou to pass on some of his experience to the younger members of the team.
Up, pick, in. Down, clip, pick, in. It's so simple. A babby could do that. Well, Gary does it, don't he?
With Gary and Sam making good headway, Lou can take a few moments to admire their work.
Steady on, Gary, watch your bulges, all right. OK. He's happy as a pig in eh, Gary? Look at that.
When Lou's in a good mood, he'll take a pop at anyone, even a passing friend.
Have you left all this rubbish here? We're keeping our eye on you. You look the type. See you, mate. Have a good day. He's off down the road, spend his gyro, I suppose.
As Lou predicted, within about 15 minutes the area is cleared.
Looks nice and tidy. Perhaps the next person that's walking down here with the can suddenly goes to chuck it thinking, oh no, that's nice and clean and tidy. But will they? That's the question. Will they?
It's up to Lou and the thousands like him to clear up the fly tips and rubbish from the streets. But then enforcement officers like John across town in Wolverhampton must take action against people who cause this menace. Today, accompanied by 2 community support officers, John's clamping down on offenders in the city centre.
Today's all about making people aware that dropping litter is a criminal offence. If they're caught dropping litter, that they will be receiving a £60 fixed penalty. If they don't pay a fixed penalty, they will go to court, and we've had many successful prosecutions.
Trying to find the culprits is proving difficult.
It's unusually tidy and it's unusually quiet.
But there's always someone doing something illegal.
Got it. No backplate on a private hire vehicle. It's an offence.
John can now move on to his pet hate, cigarette butts.
This is the problem that you have with cigarette ends. It stinks and we're walking through other people's ashtrays, really. When it rains, they get washed down the drain. The water from the storm drains gets into the watercourse, gets into the reservoir. Are we sort of drinking our water through somebody else's cigarette end? That's a nice thought.
Finding smokers is the easy part, and even though this lad has dropped his cigarette end, he's standing on it. But that's not an offence until he walks away.
The offence is on leaves, he hasn't left it. He's standing on it.
Smoking's not what it used to be. He moves on and John pounces.
Excuse me, mate, can you just come this way, man? My name's John Eccleston. I'm a enforcement officer of the council. I've just observed you drop a cigarette end onto the floor. You will be receiving £60 fixed penalty. Do you understand?
Yeah. He seems rather relaxed about receiving a £60 fine, but others aren't so accommodating.
£60 for the offence of dropping litter.
Excuse me, sir, can you come back, please? Calm down. Calm down.
No, I'm not going there.
Calm down. Stay there, sir.
Things calm down and John issues the fine. It may be £60, but if it's any consolation, all the smokers caught get a free portable ashtray. In Leicester, after hours of hard slog, Suicide Sid and his partner Ian have cleared the 4-bed house. All done and dusted then, until they check the garden.
Oh, look at this, man. I thought we'd finished, I did. Oh, well, I don't know how it is.
The contents of the shed are a setback, but at least Sid can take out some of his frustration on the garden fencing. And the odd door.
That's just a tap.
The boys can't take away the discarded fridges as they have to be disposed of by a specialist team, but Sid always takes precautions before leaving them behind.
I always take the doors off, you know, with kids around. You don't know if like a little kid jumps inside one, because there's enough room for a kid. It only needs someone else to see something heavy on top. You ain't going to go out the fridge, is there?
The end's in sight. There's one last push required. It's been a long haul, but eventually it seems their work is done.
And I can now honestly say this house is completely finished, which I'm glad. I expect an easy one on a Monday, but you don't expect this one on a Monday. I'm going to put my feet up for 5 minutes now and drink as much water as I can.
1 a.m. in London's West End, and some of the capital's stragglers are struggling to get a cab home. With the tube system now closed to the public, Brian and his specialist abseiling team can set to work. They're going to clean some of the more awkward places at the Westminster station. For Brian, it's a race against time.
We've got just over 3.5 hours to clean the top of this pipe and wash the sides of the escalators and these beams down the side here. They can't open the station until we're all out. So that's why we have to be out, finish 4 o'clock, packing up and all ready to go.
With only a 3-hour night shift, it will take Brian and his team 12 weeks to clean the station. They have to be very careful. This type of cleaning is highly dangerous. Lee and James need all their years of experience.
You have to do about 1,500 hours on the ropes. Every 3 years you have to go to do your course again.
You back yourself up as many times as you can. You have to. You know, just the slightest mistake you do could cost you dearly, you know.
The first job for Lee is to vacuum this beam before washing it down. Dust is one of the main problems on the tube system. It comes from everywhere, from From the train brakes, from the passengers, it's a constant battle to control. The tube station environment is unique.
This place, the dust rises. Instead of dust falling here, in London Underground, the dust rises with the tunnels and the air going through the tunnel that rises. You can see he's hoovered this, and 10 minutes later you can feel the dust. It doesn't take long. 4 weeks ago we hoovered this, and dust is now coming on. And I shall take you down now to one we haven't hoovered yet. Here's one what's not been hoovered, if you can see how dirty it is.
With the clock ticking, Lee's made good headway with the vacuum cleaner.
But at the moment, Lee's has just gone round hoovered the top of the tubular pipe, and now he's just going to lower the hoover down, and we're going to start washing.
Even though their equipment is fairly modern, washing down has to be done in a more traditional fashion.
We have to do it the old-fashioned way, throwing rags up, because if you've got a bucket up there, start knocking, it could fall down, spill everywhere.
As the deadline of 4:30 a.m. approaches, Brian's feeling confident.
We've got 30 minutes, and we'll definitely be out here by 4:30.
The boys have finished the cleaning on time, but as they pack away their gear, safety must always come first.
Lee's now bagging the rope. He's pulling the rope through his hand to make sure there's no damaged bits to a rope, which we do every time when we pack the rope up. And the bloke who always work with the rope, pack his own rope up as well.
For Brian, it's been a successful night's work.
The blokes have done well, everything's done, and hopefully we'll start all again tomorrow night for the next 3 months.
Since the filming of the show, Sid and Ian's hard work has paid off. What was a nightmare house was let immediately. Jason and Kevin continue to outwit the gulls. Enforcement Officer John is still waiting to pounce. And Brian and the boys are, as ever, hanging about.